Supporting families, individuals, and local businesses. Explore your options at modahealth.com/explore.
From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Studio, this is Ticket Traffic.
Want to win a $700,000 home and help Idaho kids buy a $100 ticket at homeraffle.org? Support their back-to-school backpack project. That's homeraffle.org. Got an accident northbound Highway 55 just before Floating Feather. Right lane is blocked. Seeing some big delays through there. Outbound connector very heavy and slow from Chinden all the way through the Y. Westbound I-84 sluggish conditions kick in right at Vista. Busy all the way through that merge point. Heavy in through the Eagle Road interchange.
All right, good stuff on this Tuesday. I would like to first announce welcome to our video audience. We're back, Prater, on YouTube, the KTIK YouTube page, and turn the cameras on, say hello. You guys can comment, like, subscribe, do whatever we're doing on YouTube for all our YouTube audience there. And radio audience, same great show. You won't notice a stinking thing. We're just trying to do some new stuff on this thing and get in the YouTube game a little bit. So, Prater, 5 o'clock Tuesday. Here we go, brother.
Let's do it, my friend.
Now,
let's combine two of my favorite subjects.
Yeah, I got to get your ass. I got to get you off my ass about this Ryder Cup.
Yes, sir.
That's this week. So let's start a 3-part series here, where it's kind of a Ryder Cup type of format, I guess, where it's birdie, par, bogey, double bogey. Let's give this lineup, this roster, golf scores. Okay,
I like it.
I think our listeners can understand a golf score. I don't golf. Greg doesn't golf. I won't speak for him. I don't golf much, more than me, I'm sure.
Very casual golfer, but I don't do it well, but
yeah.
I do it.
Okay. So golf scores, and you guys play along on the YouTube channel, play along on the text line, Cloverdale Plumbing, and we'll have some fun with this. Greg, what are we having today? Let's start this sucker off.
All right. So let's just start with the most important position in the game, the quarterbacks. And obviously coming into the season, we kind of all felt like, well, we know it's Maddox Madsen's job, and this was the first time you could really say that entering a Boise State football season. But we also had some questions about the QB2 spot, and we have seen a little bit of action from Max Cutforth, who I think we all kind of felt like went in as the underdog in that QB2 race. All things considered, a couple of big games recently for Maddox Madsen at quarterback, but obviously the offense altogether was stuck in neutral in South Florida. So where do we grade the quarterback? Par, birdie, or bogey?
Johnny, ballgame?
I'm going to give it a par. Okay. It's not a birdie. I mean, Mad Dog, I love you, man, but this is not a birdie. Birdie winning golf is, hey, we're winning games because of our quarterback position. He's shooting a birdie. A bogey would mean you are losing games because of your quarterback position. Now, throw in the depth. I agree with the cut forth stuff. This is a solid par for me at quarterback for Boise State. Hopefully by the end of the year, I say the position probably gave a birdie score in a golf sense, but par for the course. I get the term now, Prater, because this quarterback room for me is par for the course. You?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a par, but trending in the direction of a birdie. Couldn't quite, kind of like you, I couldn't quite give him the birdie. I know a lot of fans out there probably want to give him the bogey, but Maddox Madsen, he's top 3 in the Mountain West in total offense, passing yards, passing efficiency, pass yards per completion, which I know is a big one for you, total touchdowns. Now, his completion percentage really stinks, 57% at career low, and he needs to get that fixed. A lot of that was based on the South Florida debacle, and he's been trying to trend that sucker up. He had one really bad interception, gross interception against Air Force. We can't ignore that, although that was his only interception. Max Cutforth certainly helps a little bit here. This is absolutely the quarterback position at Boise State through 3 games is scoring a par, trending with a birdie. It's like a par putt. Or it's like a birdie putt, but it kind of lipped out, and all of a sudden you're stuck with that frustrating par. Because I know Maddox Madsen can be frustrating.
It's that par.
But at the end of the day, par is always good, my friend.
Yeah, I think it's a par as well because college football is so much about weighting your schedule and, your strength of schedule, things like that with all these FBS teams. And so I think 2 good games against an FCS opponent in Eastern Washington and an Air Force team that, might go 6-6 or whatever, that has to cancel out the one bad game against South Florida, which was obviously the most challenging opponent of the 3. So in this case, when you consider the 2 good against the 2 lesser opponents with the 1 bad against the best opponent, I think it equals out to a par.
All right. What about the next position? What we got, Greg?
Yeah, so we're going to keep things moving and go to another position that a lot of people have been talking about in the offseason and into the early portion of the season. And that's the running back room. Of course, Sire Gaines was the guy that everybody was just hoping could be healthy and we would see more of after he got hurt early in the season last year against Portland State. And all of a sudden, here comes Dylan Riley out of nowhere, Mountain West Player of the Week last week with the big game against Air Force. Malik Sherrod obviously mixing in. So what do we think? Running backs, par, birdie, or bogey?
I went with a birdie. I gave the running back group a birdie based on Dylan Riley's performance really the last 2 weeks. Week 1, I know that it didn't bring it there, but guys, this team has 104 rushing attempts for 732 yards. Guys, they're averaging 7.1 yards per run as a team, not one guy. They're running the hell out of the ball statistically. They're averaging 244 yards on the ground every game. That's mega. That's probably Service Academy stuff, guys. Give me a birdie. Prater, this is like a Tiger Woods fist pump Sunday red with a birdie on Boise State's running back room for me. Might be my favorite part of this offense.
No doubt about it. It's got to be our favorite part of this offense. It's been spectacular. This is a par 3, and you got a 3-foot birdie putt because you just came up that close to a hole in one. Dylan Riley is averaging, to complement what Johnny was saying, Dylan Riley is averaging 9.8 yards per carry. Sire Gaines 6.8 yards per carry. Malik Sherrod 6.0 per carry. All 3 of them have scored touchdowns. All 3 of them have had at least one run of more than 40 yards. They're doing it collectively. Dylan Riley was the star last week. Nobody was the star against South Florida. Somebody is going to be the star against App State this week. I have no problem. Yeah, it's fun to have a superstar like Ashton Genty in the running back room. We're never going to get that back, guys. Dylan Riley, Sire Gaines, Malik Sherrod by committee is spectacular football, and Boise State's running back room is spectacular. I am ready to declare, and I don't think we've ever said this. We've sang his praises, and we've talked a lot about him. I think James Montgomery is the best coach on this football team.
Wow, who's better? 208-424-9300, Bronco Nation.
I think it's a great call when you're talking about the start that Dylan Riley has had. You got to give the coaching staff a lot of credit. So I think, Montgomery doing a nice job with the guys he's got in that
couple of
room.
birdies.
It's an easy birdie. Like Prater said, it's like a great approach shot. I'll go with the approach on a par 4.
Okay. And it's just a tap, tap, tap.
Yeah, so James Montgomery, he's one hell of an iron player. Let's just say that. All right, let's keep things moving and go to the wide receivers. Some Latrell Caples audio in today's news updates. Terrell had a nice game against Air Force. Sometimes it's Chris Marshall. Sometimes it's Ben Ford. We've seen kind of a little bit of everything from this wide receiver room so far. Johnny Ballgame, what say you? Par, birdie, bogey with the wideouts.
Man, you know what? This is an up and down par save. Okay. I'm barely going par on this. The main 3 have all they've all helped. They've all had like that one game. Ben Ford against Eastern. Chris Marshall scored the first drive of the season and then had a spectacular performance, I thought, against Eastern. Latrell he's led the team in targets, I think, the whole year. Last week, finally got in on the action more so and had big catches. I don't love this receiving core, guys. I don't know if there's a massive deep threat. I still don't see a ton of separation. I'm going a par save on my receiving core for Boise State, Michael Forrest.
I think that's pretty good. And not only am I impressed with your golf terms and your golf lingo there, the par save, because I think that really does fit the vibe here. I'm not trying to steal my thunder from the tight ends and the offensive line, but this was the only group that I even thought about a bogey. Caples Ford and Chris Marshall, like you said, are fine. They're doing it by committee, spreading it around. Everybody's doing their job. You have to factor in the fact that the running backs are doing a decent job of catching the ball. We're going to get to the tight ends. They're doing a decent job of catching the ball. I wish some of the 2 or 3 younger kids, and we're 3 games into the season, so we're talking about junior college transfers and freshmen, the Williamses and the Browns and the Whitlocks of the world. I wish that they would have contributed just a little bit more, but that's being greedy. My one big issue here is the target catch ratio. Latrell Caples has had 20 targets and only caught 10 balls.
Yeah.
Ford, 13-8. Chris Marshall, 13-7. Cameron Bates, 6 targets, only 2 catches. Khalil Shakir would vomit over these. He's the 100% guy when it comes to the catch rate, target, conversion, and he's been spectacular. Maybe not so much this year, but his entire reputation as a wide receiver. That to me, and I don't know if that's play calling. I don't know if that's Mad Dog not getting the ball into tight windows. I don't know if that is, but I guarantee you it's part of the problem. The separation in the practice habits of the wide receivers. And we've been talking about those guys for a couple of years in terms of separation and practice habits. So it's the same group of guys, and I don't think that that's changed. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into that target and catch conversion rate. But I think overall, on a football team that scored 100 points in the last 2 weeks, the wide receivers have done a pretty damn good job. They get a par.
First off, I think your point about the targets converting into receptions thing is something that you'd have to probably look at in a more thorough detail.
Correct.
Could it be Maddox Matson missing some throws as well, which still get counted as targets towards those receivers? But I went with a bogey here because I bought the Chris Marshall hype a little bit more than maybe you guys did.
Don't say you guys. Say Johnny Ballgame.
Okay. Yep. Sorry. Again, Prater, you were waiting to see a little bit more of it, but I just see a 6'3", 211 is what they list on that guy on the outside, and thought that this was going to be a guy that was 8 to 10 catches a game kind of. And
I think that's fair.
Yeah. I mean, that was what I thought Boise State had, and we just haven't seen that yet. Now, obviously, when you're ahead in games and when these running backs are playing well, perhaps game scripts are just not going to lend themselves towards airing the ball out a ton. And obviously Boise State with this schedule, we would think is going to be playing ahead a lot. So maybe none of these guys need to be, like I said, that 8 to 10 catch a game guy that, have 100 yards almost weekly. So for that reason, perhaps I'm being a little too harsh, but I still went with a bogey here on the wide receiver room. Let's move forward and get to the tight ends. Obviously a group led by another one of the veterans on the roster, Matt Lauder. Johnny Ballgame again, lead us off. Par, birdie, bogey for the tight ends.
Man, I'm not going to go as far as an albatross, okay? But I'll just give a nice solid birdie here. I love the Mats is what they're called in the building. I just learned that apparently as well. And they were born on exactly the same day. It's kind of weird because what?
Born on the same birthday.
I thought it was the same exact year.
No, just they share the same birthday.
Okay, because I was wondering because Lauder's like 2 years ahead of Matt Wagner, the other one. But these guys are big. They're very physical in the running game. They're part of the reason I love the backfield as much. And my gosh, Matt Lauder, he's going to finish his career as probably the most prolific receiving tight end in program history. This is a birdie. This to me might be, this is probably the biggest strength maybe of this offense, position for position for me. Tight end, man. I really think they got the things going on in that tight end room. I like the Mats, Prater.
Yeah, I can't go there. I can't go there. I mean, running back to me is by far the strength of this. And I'll even say Mad Dog is a little bit strong. I gave him a par. I gave him a routine, boring par. And Matt Lauder has just been kind of routine and boring, methodical, doing what he's supposed to do, not making mistakes, not creating any highlight plays. He's caught 10 passes, so he's catching 3 passes a game, barely 100 yards overall. Matt Wagner's only he catches like a 1 catch a game.
Yep.
But they're doing all kinds of other things. They're not even close. I never even once considered a bogey here. The tight end room is deep, but we're only seeing 2 of them, so I'm a little bit concerned about the depth. To me, this is just a good old-fashioned par on a Thursday afternoon when nobody's watching on television and somebody's just got to get up and down real quick. They're doing their job, but they're certainly not winning golf tournaments by doing it.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I think that's well said. I think this is like the hole in a golf tournament that the television coverage just doesn't even show because it's nothing eventful happened in either direction. Drive went down the fairway, approach was decent enough to 2-putt and knock it in for a par because, yeah, I mean, like you said, like Louder, he's been fine. Nothing really standing out in a negative or positive direction. And I think your point about the depth, maybe you want to see somebody else emerge there. So for the most part, yeah, not a lot to write home about in either direction for me as well with the tight ends. I went with a par as well. And we end in the trenches where I think perhaps most people would say the best player on this football team lies, of course, that being Cage Casey. The offensive line, par, birdie, or bogey for the offensive line. Johnny, ball game, lead us off.
Well, they've thrown the ball 104 times this season, and the quarterback position has been on its back one time. They've given up one sack. This offense, like I said, this running back unit, this team collectively is currently averaging, 7.1 yards per carry.
6.8.
Oh, as a team.
As a team, yeah.
That's okay. Wow. That's 7 yards a carry and one sack given up in 3 games. Like on paper right there, how do I not just say, give this a birdie and move the heck on? That's all I need to see. I mean, you don't have to show me the whole labor, Greg. Just bring me the freaking baby and those stats. I need to run the ball and I need to protect the quarterback. And this offensive line is doing both of those things, Little Forest.
This is a Saturday birdie to give the United States a lead in the Ryder Cup going into Sunday. It's got a lot of emotions to it. It may not win you the tournament, but it's certainly going to create a lot of waves to get you to the tournament. This is clearly a birdie, as Johnny just kind of pointed out. The Boise State is number 2 in the Mountain West in rushing offense, 244 yards a game. Number 1 in run per average, 6.8. Number 1 in pass offense at 292 yards. As you said, number 1 in sacks against, only 1. There's a lot of penalties, and there's a couple of guys on this team that are a little bit sloppy. Yeah. Roger Carrion, clean it up a little bit. And some of these pre-snap penalties. But everybody on the offensive line has had one penalty this year, except for Cage Casey. Nobody's had more than one other than Roger Carrion. So they're kind of spreading the wealth right there. And let's hope that the penalty thing was an outlier in the first half only against Air Force. They cleaned that up in the second half. No issues whatsoever. This is a dominant offensive line. This is a good offensive line. And I'll go back and chart it because it certainly wasn't the case last year when I think Boise State started 7 different offensive line combinations. This might be the first time in a long time that Boise State has started the same 3 offensive line groups in the first 3 games of the season. Knock on wood, everybody's healthy. Everybody's playing great. They had one bad hiccup with some penalty issues. This football team is gelling right now because the offensive line might be the strength.
Yeah, I think it's a birdie as well. And I think that what you said about no offensive lineman having more than one penalty, I think that's a plus because that's telling me that there's no repeat offenders. There's nobody that is
one. There's one.
Yeah, there's one. Excuse me. So for the most part, there's a penalty here, a penalty there. I don't think that's going to kill you. And the running backs can't do their thing if the offensive line is not winning in the trenches to the extent that they have. So as long as the penalties. Obviously, you'd like to see it team-wide go down, and they kind of maybe already addressed that with the way it was divvied up with 11 of the 12 being in the first half on Saturday night. But given that it doesn't seem like there's a ton of guys knocking on the door over and over again with the penalties, makes me think that it's kind of a one-off here, one-off there kind of situation, and that they can kind of continue to rectify that moving forward. So I think it's definitely a birdie for the offensive line. So all things considered, I feel like we got some good scores here.
That's a hell of a golf score.
We're making the turn under par.
We're shooting, we are shooting well under par here. Good stuff. 3-part series. Tomorrow defense, Wednesday special teams.
And Friday, the entire show is dedicated to the Ryder Cup.
No, it's not.
Dang
it's
it.
not.
Dang it.
Get off that Ryder Cup crap. Save that for your stinking soapbox. Guys, where were we wrong on that? How would you grade differently? And until then, it's time for another chance for you to win $1,000 right now on KTIK. Text the national keyword SMILE to 95819. It's brought to you by WeatherTight Roofing, Idaho's #1 roofing contractor since 2008. Prater on the Ballgame, KTIK, the ticket.
From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Studio, this is Ticket Traffic.
Want to win a $700,000 home and help Idaho kids buy